and I wasn't here last week. I know Eric did his thing. He had a guest speaker, so that's awesome, and it's along the theme of off-market properties, deal flow. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I think today is just a good timing for maybe kind of sharing a case study where it can tie some of these topics together that we've been discussing for the last few weeks. Some of you maybe Kevin or Alejandro might have heard this one a bit before, because they're in my other mastermind that I do for Southern California agents, and they're from Southern California. Michelle, good to see you as well on here. That's awesome. And sorry about the fact that you guys are logging in as Randy Test Zimnoch. I believe it's because of the link that I specifically sent in the last few reminders was actually like my link that I have set up for the test account. And that's probably why that's happening. So I'll make sure that doesn't happen next time. So change your name if you can. You should be able to. How do you change your name? Just click on the three dots right in the top right corner, and you can change your name to whoever you actually are, so we know who you are. Because it's kind of weird to see a bunch of Randy Zimnochs everywhere. Cool. Anything you want to add, Eric? Oh, maybe let's start with a couple wins. I always like to start with wins in all my meetings, so I think it would be cool to implement this in here as well. If anybody wants to share anything that they've been able to implement over the last couple weeks, some of you are coming back here on our regular basis, so we'd love to kind of get some shares going to start this. Anyone wants to volunteer? Otherwise, I'm going to just call on you.
I have one. I'll start just to make it an easy pitch. So we have an investor that bought one of our listings in December. It was a condo. So I've been sending him condos. Condo came up in the neighborhood a couple weeks ago, the same one that he had bought in, and it went back on market, went out there today, wrote a cash offer, 10,000 under, and we're closing on it tomorrow or Monday. So nice way to kind of lock it up for him. It's like roughly be like a 14-15% cash on cash return. So we'll close in a couple of days for him and repeat business.
And that's what I love about working with investors, right? You might not have a deal in the pipeline, and all of a sudden, boom, you're closing. And how fast is this closing?
We just did the contract this morning. I should be getting it back signed here in the next couple minutes, and then we'll close either tomorrow or Monday. So
wait, so this is a sale or he's buying it?
He's buying it.
So how fast is this from a contract to close over there? What are you doing?
So it's cash, and title was already done by the previous buyer. HOA status letter was already done. So we already have everything we need. We're just going back to the title company, submitting the funds, and then closing on it.
So literally what, 3 days? Are you really
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So that wasn't even like part of your plan, right, to make that commission, and now all of a sudden in 3 days you're going to make a commission check.
Yeah, it worked out well. We had a listing that was sitting in December when our market was super slow. This investor called. He's like, I buy condos over there. No agents ever really helped or represent me or anything like that. So he's like, you can take both sides of the deal. So we did that, and then I just keep sending him condos and stuff like that, have a search set up, and he was like, hey, I noticed this came back on market. You want to go look at it? Looked at it at 10 a.m., had the contract over by about 1, and then should have it signed back here shortly.
Come on, man. So we do a 2 clap, Eric. I didn't think I told you this yet. In my meetings, we do 2 claps.
I'll take 2 claps.
Yes. Well, Kevin, I'm going to call on you because you're used to this with me. Go ahead, buddy. What's been happening?
Yeah. I've been busy with a bunch of stuff lately. So just specifically related to this, yeah, I was able to set myself up with a search for fixers in our market, and yeah, stuff for MLS search.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff does pop up. Yeah, I just have to use the correct keywords, and there are pieces of crap that got listed with the regular agent that need work and are just for cash buyers. So yeah,
love it, man. Good job on taking action. And I can tell you, if some of you are, because I know we have investors and agents, so if you are an agent and you are looking for opportunities either for yourself as an investor or for other investors, and you're new as an agent, like invest the money and time. I think it's like maybe $50, $100 on most boards. Take the MLS class, learn how to use the freaking MLS.
Yep.
Like I can't say how powerful the MLS is, but if you don't know how to use it, it's worthless, right? So anyway, they teach you all that stuff, right? How to create filters, how to do all these things. So take that class. So good job, Kevin. 2 clap. I'm gonna call on Mr. Wade. He's new.
Hey. Well, I think I got a win for the real estate piece. I feel like I'm, when you first get started, everything gets kind of thrown on top of you and you kind of weed through the stuff. But I think I'm able to stick my head up out of the water now. I think I'm starting to get it and understand, the stuff that's important right now, the stuff's important down the road, and the stuff that's not necessarily important for me. On another note, I got hired for a big video wedding project today. So I'm able to reduce my travel for the next 3 months. Right now down to nothing. So I'll be able to stay home a lot longer and take care of my new real estate adventure, plus still make some money to pay the bills.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Wade just joined us, my team here, Eric, in Southern California.
Okay.
So that's why
Nice.
that's why I picked on him. And I haven't seen his camera work. Finally, I get to see his background and him. So it's good.
I just got the camera this week, so it's a new one. But the background, me being from Lakeland, Florida. Bucks
I'll
fan
take
for
it.
life.
Yeah, no.
So good. 2 clap. Cool. All right, good stuff. So let me get into it. Let me share my screen. And I got to make sure I pick the right screen here. Desktop number, this one. Ba-bum, ba-bum. All right. And view slideshow. Awesome. So for some of you that are here for the first time, this is what Eric and I do for now on a weekly basis. We're probably going to go to every 2 weeks or twice a month, just so we have the time actually to work on more things for this community in between, because man, these weeks go by fast. And we also want to give you time to actually implement some of the things we talk about, right? So anyway, so that's kind of the vision I think we have, is to slow things down a little bit and go either, twice a month or every 2 weeks, and develop a lot more content, more things for this community. But, it's what you see here. We're building relationships between real estate agents and investors. So you can invite anybody that you feel can benefit from this, if they're an investor or if they're an agent looking to maybe work with investors. This is their home. This is the place to come. And this is what we talk about. How do we maximize both opportunities and create synergy between these 2 niches, right? The retail side and the investor side. So today's topic is an off-market $150,000 payday. And this was crazy that, he made this much. I almost wish that I asked to partner with him. Hindsight, right? Afterwards. But this was a beautiful thing that came to one of my investor friends, right? And this is him. So I met Greg. He is actually from upstate New York, and he kind of splits his time between California, Southern California, and upstate New York. Does renovations and flipping and wholesaling in both markets, believe it or not. Dude is talented, young and talented. And I play pickleball with him once a month. There's a bunch of us from the real estate industry that we play pickleball, and that's how I got to meet Greg, right? And this is something that maybe we didn't talk about much in our previous classes, but it's one thing, of course, going to investor meetups, realtor events, to meet people, right? And go into those environments where obviously the same people like you are there. That's the easiest way to meet them. But I also like meeting people when I'm going out there and doing something I enjoy, right? So that I get to know people, not necessarily also from them knowing my occupation right away, right? So like if you're into mountain biking, go and do those activities and start meeting people. Next thing you know, you're going to start doing business with each other, right? And that's kind of how this happened. A bunch of us play pickleball. We got to know each other over the last few months last year. And then sure enough, he got an Instagram direct message about this wholesale. And this wholesaler locked this property up virtually from Fresno, California. And this actual deal was in San Diego. So if you're not from Southern California, or from California, that is a pretty far drive. Probably 8 hour drive, maybe 6. I don't know exactly, but it's not close, right? So this virtual wholesaler locked it up, found Greg on Instagram because he does post stuff here and there on Instagram about what he does in his business. So somehow this wholesaler found him and sent him a direct message on Instagram. And initially Greg said, he thought it was just like some crap spam, right? And he actually replied, and then sure enough, it was a real opportunity. So then he called me. He's like, Randy, I thought of you. I just got this direct message. I don't know if it's a deal, but would you mind going and taking a look at it with me, right? I was like, sure. So I went with him to take a look at this property, right? And it's in a area where I would say it's definitely like up and coming. Let's just call it that, right? But in these areas, there's pockets that are actually pretty nice if you find the right pocket, right? So we pull up and it's a cul-de-sac, and it's like probably one of the better areas of this up and coming neighborhood. And I was telling him that literally about a month or so ago, I just sold another property, and I told him how that went down, how many offers I got in this slower market. This is about October, November of last year. So the market was not too hot. Things were actually dropping in values. Inventory was increasing, right? So I told him what I did and how we were still able to generate, I believe on that one, like 20 something offers. And he was like shocked. He's like, what? How? So I went through that basically strategy. I said, I think we can do this with this property, but let me just make sure, and let's look inside, because just based on the outside, I was like, man, this could probably work. So when we went inside, this is what we saw, right? Just dirty, right? Just outdated, dirty, lived in heavily, as we like to say it, right? But on the outside, if you see this, this photo here, it's fine. It's got an actually nice backyard. It's got a decent view. It's got some privacy. It is on a cul-de-sac. So it was a good, decent area for that particular neighborhood. And when I walk through properties with investors, first thing I'm looking for is like, okay, is this property mortgageable in the state that it is right now? That's like my number one thing I look at. Because if it is, especially in this market, and honestly in any market, I think this is a good strategy. The first thing I think of is like, can we basically clean this thing up and put it right back on the market, right? Because I've done that strategy several times, and that's called, some of you might know, but that's called a wholetail. And the reason it's called a wholetail is because you're wholesaling to a retail buyer. So when you combine those two words together, wholesale and retail, you get wholetail. And I don't know who came up with that title, I guess, but it just makes sense how they did. And I started hearing a lot more about it a couple of years ago. And I've actually done it, not only on my own flips that I locked up recently in the last couple of years with a partner of mine, but I've done it now several times for other investor clients of mine as a realtor, helping them and guiding them with this strategy, right? So when I walk into this type of a property, I always think about that, and I share that strategy with the investor. And he wasn't even thinking about that because he's thinking rehab, right? Buy it, rehab it, sell it. That's how most investors think. Okay, what is the repairs? What else? What's the whole list of things I need to do here to put it back on the market, beautifully staged, fully updated? And I bring this type of a strategy as an idea, as a secondary option. And in most cases, they love the idea. And it's especially good in this market when it's very volatile and you just don't know, where's this market going, right? Do I want to rehab this thing for two months when the interest rates can literally go up to 7-8% and drop to 7 and 6 to go up to 7? Like in 2 months, like so much can happen, as we all know and seen over the last year really, where things just jump all over the place. No one can predict anything anymore, right? So in this type of market, I believe wholetailing is a really, really good strategy. And interestingly enough, in this case, this was a wholesale to a wholetail, right? So it's almost like a double wholesale. He could have easily, my buddy Greg, he could have easily closed on the property and found a rehabber to buy it off him without doing a thing, and he probably would have made 50,000. That's how good of a number he got this property at from the wholesaler, which is crazy to think about. That he could have wholesaled a wholesale, which is rare, right? Create that much spread in a property where you can wholesale it twice, right? So in this case, I walked through it. Everything was checking out. I was like, okay, yeah, everything seems good. It looks like if you just clean it up, yeah, it's outdated, but once you clean it up, I don't see anything crazy. But this was the biggest challenge, right? The bathroom had no bathtub, right? And we asked the tenant that was living there at the moment that was moving out. And basically they said, oh, we haven't used this bathroom in years. This thing leaked. And we just kind of left it like that. The owner never did anything with it, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what the arrangement they had. They were using it, the other bathroom. And this other photo you see here is a picture of a closet from one of the bedrooms that looks into the bathroom, right? That's where the mold was that they just had to remove and cut out, right? So those were the two big issues, because now I'm like, oh man, it's not mortgageable now. It's like, oh, like this needs to be put together in order for a bank to give you a mortgage on a property like this, right? Because an appraiser is going to come through and they're going to flag it and done, right? So now we have to make some decisions like, okay, is this still something we are willing to maybe fix and just good enough so we can put it right back on the market and wholesale it, right, to a retail buyer with a mortgage? So initially we're like, yes, I think it's worth it. Where we just, I told Greg, I was like, dude, just put one of those insert bathtubs, right? With the whole background, like you don't have to tile it. It's all comes together as one. I was like, throw one of these in here, put some sheetrock in a closet and call it a day. Make sure everything, of course, works from a plumbing perspective and clean up the rest, empty everything out and let's throw it right back on the market, right? So when we initially walked through it, this was basically our analysis, right? Market value basically as is to a wholesale buyer with the bathroom tub, fixed. We said, okay, 550, that would be a good value for this property. If you put 5,000 into it to do those items, fix bathroom and the leak in the closet, clean out inside and outside, we can list it as is at 500,000 because I want to make sure that we underprice the property in terms of what the actual value is. So we just get a ton of attention, which is what I did a few months prior with another listing where I got 20 something offers in a slower market. So when we were making these decisions, the market was definitely slower still back then. So we wanted to be very, very careful, but yet still bring in the attention and the momentum when we listed it in the beginning of the year, because we knew that he'll be able to take control of the property sometime in December. When the tenants move out and he can then close on it. And then I was like, perfect, use the holidays to make the updates that we just agreed upon. And then first thing, first week, second week of January, we're going to list this thing as is a 500,000. And based on my analysis, we should get several offers and bid it up, right? So he bought it for 450,000. The wholesaler, I think, made, I think it was like 40 grand. I think the wholesaler made. So the wholesaler made virtually from Fresno, made 40 grand roughly. He bought it, my buddy Greg, at 450. But then and this is common, once he got in there with, when it was empty with his contractor, he changed the plan a little bit and he asked for my opinion. And we both said, okay, fine, you can update the second bathroom if you want, and update the first bathroom fully as well if you want, where the tub was missing. And then he decided to carpet and paint the inside. But I was like, look, Greg, let's stop. Just don't touch the kitchen, dude, because like where do you stop? Once you keep going, then you might as well finish the whole freaking house, right? So with a wholesale, you're not trying to do a lot of renovations because it defeats the purpose of the strategy, right? So I told him, I was like, you just have to cut it off somewhere. And that's it. Carpet paint, great, love it. I was like, how much can you do it for? He's like, oh, it's gonna be like under 15K. I was like, all right, but do not touch the freaking kitchen. Like, don't worry about it. Like, don't worry too much about landscaping and anything like that. Just make sure it's clean everything out, get all the garbage out. So we agreed on that. And I was like, if you do all these things, then it definitely will show better. So that will definitely bump the market value up. And at that point, we said, okay, we should be able to list it probably at 590. But what was also starting to happen is the market started shifting. The interest rates went down. And then in January, as he was doing these updates, the market, I was like, dude, market is shifting. So we came up with this number. The ARV for this, what he was going to do is going to be 650,000, and we were going to list it at 599 as soon as he's done. So everything was now leaning to his benefit, right? The market was picking up because interest rates dropped. So I couldn't wait to get this thing on the market. So we listed this property on January 27th, finally. Again, market was actually going in his favor here in San Diego. And you can see, this screenshot is of it being pending. But the reality is, if you go to, hold on, let me actually show you the after photos. So here's what it looked like after his cleanup and little $15,000 rehab job, right? He didn't really do much on the landscaping side. This is virtually staged. So I virtually staged the property. I think I pay maybe 20 bucks a photo or something. So we'll do that for a few photos. This is what it looks like before virtual staging. This is with virtual staging. So we did that for some of the photos just to kind of give people a visual of what it could look like. As you can see, fresh paint, fresh carpet, same kitchen. He had his contractor adjust some of the cabinets so it doesn't hang crooked and things like that. We had a deep cleaning. The tile is the same. That was not touched in the kitchen. Right? So all of that is the way it was. And what else? He did not touch the windows, of course. This is the master bedroom, virtually staged. That's what it looks like in reality, but this is virtual staged. Here's the bathroom that he did. This is the second bath that they were using that had a shower, but he updated actually this whole bathroom for very affordable, like very good price. So he updated the bathroom, and this is this bathroom that had this missing bathtub. So he fully updated this bathroom. He did the insert like we talked about, but then he just went ahead and did the vanity and new toilet, I believe, and kept the tile, same old tile on the ground. As you can see here, clean out the garage. Here's the backyard. Boom, boom. You get the picture. Nice little home. So that's the house afterwards, but we did not list it at 670 the way you see it here right now. What we did do is we actually listed it, like we discussed, at 599, and we got a ton of offers as I anticipated, right? And then, I'm going to kind of jump ahead, but when we locked it up with the buyer that we knew we were going to go with, one of the strategies that I do for my investor clients when we, get overbid quite a bit is before I mark the property pending, I will adjust the list price to the higher number, right? So if I'm on the contract for, 670, like in this case, we were to begin with, we changed the price to 670 before we mark the pending, just so the appraiser also can see the higher list price when they go out there to look at the property if the buyer is using a mortgage, right? And the appraiser has to come out. Will that always help? I don't know. However, I like to do that because I think it just shows the appraiser like, oh man, they must have got a lot of attention because they changed the price to a higher number, right? Versus leaving it at 599 and we're selling it for 670 and then the appraiser is coming out it's a little bit harder, maybe potentially. I'm thinking for him to justify, wait a minute, wow, this is not listed anywhere close to the contract price that they told me, right? So I always like to do that, is change the price before I mark it pending to help me, right? When it comes to appraisal. So we got a ton of offers. Another thing I do for investors, and if you're listening to this and you're just an investor looking to work with agents, think of ideas that you can bring to the table and ask your agent to do based on how I work with investors here. If you're an agent working with investors, think how you can implement some of the things I'm doing with investors for your own business with investors to impress them, right? So you can get more business, right? So one of the things that I do when I get a ton of offers, usually if I get more than 3 offers, it's automatically going into this Google Doc that you see on the screen. This is what it looks like live. I'm going to pull it up right now. I do this for every client. Doesn't matter if it's an investor, it could be a retail seller. If I have more than 3 offers, we're putting it all into this type of a spreadsheet. And we basically take out the most important information from the contract, because there's nothing worse than an agent sending you, if you're the seller, sending the seller all the contracts, right? Imagine getting 15, 20 contracts sent to you and you're a seller, or the investor trying to sell the property and they hired you as an agent. It takes so much work for that person to go through each contract and pick up all of the data that's important to them. So we take that as agents information and summarize it, and we put it into this spreadsheet. So look at all these offers we got, and this just keeps going. We got 20, whatever, 26, 30 offers. We have 30 offers on this property. So what do? Do you counter all of them? The answer on my end is a no, right? Absolutely not. That's a ton of work. We will not counter all of them, right? So at some point, the story starts shaping, and what we do is we decide what's our threshold. Like, what is that number that we want to now say, like, okay, from this number forward, we're going to counter them. Everybody below that, we're just going to email them the same email saying, hey, by the way, you're not in the top 10 offers or top 5 offers. If your clients would like to rewrite their offer with their highest and best price and terms, you're more than welcome to resubmit your offer. And that's all we say. We don't actually physically draft a counter. We just send an email, copy paste to all those agents that sent their offers that did not make that break point. So in this case, our break point, I believe, was 650, I think, or 630, somewhere there. So then we put the black line here, and we only focus on the top. In this case was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, top 8 offers. And don't ever underestimate, honestly, offers that come in late or if they come in low. Because I've had situations, honestly, where they were like in the back, right? In the back of the line, coming in 100,000 lower than any other offer. And then all of a sudden they get that email from us and they resubmit an offer, and now they're in the top 5. Like, that can happen, right? So just because someone submits a low offer in comparison to what you have, don't just assume that they're off the table, right? I always want to give everybody a chance. So I absolutely make sure that everybody gets an email at least that is past their cutoff, right? And then we zoom in on the top ones, of course, right? And that's where we put all our energy. So in most cases, we're gonna have a few, 2 or 3 that are gonna stand out, and we put these in order of what we believe is offer number 1, 2, and 3 in terms of price, terms, and the communication between us and the agent or the lender if they're using a lender. So in this case, we initially purchase prices here, seller credits, seller after credits. Everything is spelled out. I'm not going to go through all this. There's no need, but I'm just, the point of this is to show my client, my investor client, everything on one page so they can just easily compare and contrast. We like to highlight things that we believe are a really, really good thing in green. So as you can see, this is green because they waived their contingencies for inspection. They waived their appraisal contingency. So anything that stands out, that's a really, really good thing, we highlight that in green, right? Anything that's a little bit like you see here, like orangey or so, that's something that we're considering that we're going to probably counter. And then red is, of course, that's not a good thing, right? In comparison to the other offers, of course, right? So that's kind of how we use that to help our client visually kind of get their eye to pay attention to certain things, right? So in this case, what ended up happening, we ended up actually getting our own buyer to be submitted. Our own buyer was a cash buyer that we were going to represent in this particular situation, right? Which was beautiful because then, of course, Jessica and I make double the commission. We make the listing side and we make the buyer side. In this particular one, we agreed to, he wanted to pay us the full 5%, which I usually actually don't do with investors. I give them a discount on the listing commission. But in this case, because it was such a juicy deal, he was so excited about it. And the strategy that I gave him of the wholesale, like, he's like, Randy, I want to give you the full 5%. I was like, awesome, man. So Jessica, who's on my team, and we went to work, brought these offers, and this offer number 6 actually ended up winning mainly because she was a cash buyer and could close in 5 days and waived all their inspection contingencies, actually closed in 7 days, had a 5-day inspection contingency. I'm sorry. So it was a very short contingency for inspections, quick closing. And to him, that was more important than maybe getting an additional $10,000 from the other offers that we ended up getting later. Okay. So this is the highest and best. Okay. So this is how it shaped out after the counters. That's right. So these were the initial offers, and then highest and best are right here. And as you can see right here, this is our cash buyer that Jessica and I were representing. And then seller netting was going to net $665,000 with this offer, cash. And then this mortgage one, 674, this mortgage one, 665, and this one, 670. So he was willing to give up $10,000 to go with a cash offer. And honestly, if it was me, I would do the same thing, right? So then we decided to go with the cash offer, and we opened escrow February 2nd, right? With this cash offer, and Jessica and I are representing the buyer, which is awesome, right? So then we can make 5% of the sales price of $660. So we're also excited, right? However, whenever we do that, that doesn't mean we give up on the other offer. So I always try to push the envelope and I negotiate to the end, even if I have to wait a few hours to get the other ones that we're waiting on their counters back. Even though if our client made up their mind that they're going to want to take the cash offer, I still want to hear from the other top offers, what is their highest and best that they're going to come back with. And here's why. We know if you're in business for a while, like Eric, escrows fall, things fall out of contract. It happens, right? So my mentality is always like, look, it's not over until it's closed, right? So I always want to have great backups. And I want to push everybody to their highest, terms and price, even though we maybe made up our mind, right? It's worth waiting to know what that is. Because to recreate that momentum later, if my first buyer falls out of contract, it's really hard, right? This is like the best time to negotiate when you have all of this momentum on your side, right? So in this case, what we ended up doing is we counter our top other 3 offers that were with a mortgage. This one agent, man, she was like harassing us, which is sometimes a good thing. That means that, she's got serious buyers and she's serious. She really wants to make it work. So she came up to a number that was like, holy cow, like that's unbelievable. So we put them in backup position. And in California, we have a document that you see on the screen where we can put them in an official backup offer position by using this addendum. What that means, if the first contract falls through, they have the first right of refusal to buy the property based on the terms and price that we agreed upon prior to opening escrow with our first buyer. Does that make sense? Right? So I believe most states have this. If you do, leverage that to protect your seller, right? Because that's also what this is doing, right? And it makes my job as an agent a lot easier in most cases, because of course this buyer could say no. We can fall out of contract on the first offer, go to them, and they might say, you know what, we changed our mind because the market changed. That could happen. But we have to go to them first if we agree to sign this document. And then when I say we, the seller and the buyer, right? So we did that here. We got them up to, I believe, 695 with a seller concession. So it wasn't all of that, but anyway, so we negotiated all the terms we wanted, got them in backup position, right? They waived their appraisal contingency as well, which we liked. So we had a really, really, really strong backup, actually $10,000 more than the actual contract that we're under, right? With the cash buyer. But this what happened. Guess what? After we opened escrow, our buyer, cash buyer, disappeared. We couldn't get it, like she went missing. Like we still have not heard from this cash buyer that we opened escrow with. That signed a contract, was communicating with my team member, Jessica, went to see the property with her. The moment we opened escrow, she ghosted us. I've never had that happen. I mean, I've had people cancel, but they told us. But she literally ghosted us. Like we were like, what is going on? So we tried phone and email and everything, nothing. So after a certain amount of time, she had 5 days to do her inspection contingency. Well, that 5 days went by. Then we were legally allowed to cancel contract 2 days after that. So we sent the cancellation to her. So we have proof of documentation, right? And we canceled, look, on the 9th, 7 days later, we canceled this contract because we never heard from her. It was so weird, right? So we were a little disappointed because we were representing this buyer as well, but things happen and I got to move on, right? Protect our client. So the same day, February 9th, we canceled this one. Bam, same exact day, we opened escrow with the backup. They wanted the property, right? So we didn't have to renegotiate. We didn't have to go back to the other offers and talk to them. We're gonna spend another 3 days figuring out who wants it, blah, blah, blah. We already had a backup. We went to them because that was our, we had to, right, per contract. And they wanted it, boom, $695 purchase price, 14-day escrow. They did have the seller's concession. So that $695, I think, was netting our client like $674. I think they needed 3% seller concession. But to protect my client, they agreed to bring the difference to the table if it didn't appraise. So we were covered. So literally, bam, within the same day, we opened escrow on the next one, sold it on, what day was this? Oh, I didn't have, this is a screenshot of the closing the same day. So I don't know what day it was. Oh, wait, here. Does this have a date? Oh, no, probably not. Anyway, we closed 14 days later. Everything closed exactly how it was written. This agent was on top of it. The appraisal actually came in. And this is another tip for you agents working with investors or investors working with agents. Request this if you're working with an agent, and if you are an agent, please do this. Just because someone waives their appraisal, that doesn't mean you just sit back and relax, right? Because I can tell you, it is not a good feeling if you're a buyer and you lock up a property at $695. Yes, you waive the appraisal, knowing that that reality could happen, that the appraisal might come in lower. But if that appraisal comes in at $675 and you actually then have to bring an extra $20,000 to the table that you technically knew you might have to, but now it's reality, who knows what can happen, right? They might get cold feet. They might freak out and be like, you know what, forget it. Like, I don't want to do it after all. And they might find a reason, right or wrong, to back out of the contract, and good luck trying to sue them, right? Especially if they have any contingency left to use. And in most cases, the contingency they have is a loan contingency. And they might just say, oh, well, things change in our financial situation and we can't buy the property. And good luck researching it, right? And investigating that. So in order to protect that, we will always meet the appraiser at the property, regardless if the buyer waived their appraisal. We bring the packet, we bring the updates that our investor did on the property. We bring, if we have backup offers that are at the same contract price or higher, we print the front page of each contract So the appraiser can see the competition and how many people wanted this property at that price, right? So we just print the front page of each contract. We don't give the appraiser the whole contract. That's ridiculous, right? List of repairs, like I said already earlier, right? And the best comps that we think will support it. And we just hand that over to the appraiser with not too much discussion. And I honestly tell you, 9 out of 10 times, they're appreciative that we give them that information. It's rare that an appraiser is not going to take it. Every now and then it might happen. So we basically, what I'm getting at, we fight to the end to also try to protect the buyer's value and see if we could get that value to come in, because we know if that value comes in, that makes that buyer that much more excited to close on that property, right? And keeps the deal together and smooth. And sure enough, this appraisal came in and I was actually shocked, but it came in value at 695, which I think was a little ridiculous, but it did. And I do truly believe that our efforts that I just told you about contributed towards that, right? So at the end of the day, here's the result. Greg made $34,000, his biggest deal ever, he told me after. We made $17,000 in commissions, and we got a buyer lead that we're actively working with right now. That's looking up to 650,000. So what is the math on that? 650 times 2.5%. That's another 16,000 that we're going to get when we close with that buyer. So for us, at the end of the day, we'll end up making, what is that, 33,000 roughly, when that buyer buys something. So not a bad day, right? And this was a pretty quick thing, right? From the moment he bought it, like he moved with this rehab, he could have renovated the whole thing and then we could have sold it for a higher amount. But the truth is, what I found when I do the numbers with my investors, usually it pencils out that you actually make less money if you do the full rehab and list it at the full market value for a fully renovated home in comparison to doing a wholesale, right? It usually pencils out that you actually make more money as a wholesale, and you're able to list it a little lower to bring more attention to it and get more multiple offers. So I strongly suggest considering this as another strategy, because the worst thing that can happen, I tell my investors, is like, look, we put this thing back on the market as is. And usually, like I said, usually my investors will not do as much as what he did, right? Usually he would have just done the tub and that's it. And we would have been on the market like next week, right? And I said, look, worst case that happens, we don't get the activity we want. You can always rehab the property, right? And then we can put it back on the market fully renovated. But every time I did this, it worked amazingly, and they made more money than they could have even imagined if they were to renovate it fully. So that is the case study. I hope you learned something from it, but the takeaways from this, if I'm sitting there as you listening, is that don't underestimate Instagram DMs. Anything can happen, right? Think about, this wholesale strategy, something very seriously if you're working with investors or if you are an investor yourself, because it could be very, very profitable. But at the same time, maybe, think about the pricing strategy so you can bring that attention, like you saw here, to get 20, 25 offers, in this type of market. So that's what I got for you. We're going to open up for questions. I know it's 1:46, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So any questions, we'll love to hear it, and we'll do breakout rooms in a couple minutes. No questions. Wow. Oh, go ahead. Denise, is it Denise? If you unmute yourself and
Denise. Hi, sorry, I jumped on the call late and I'm brand new to EXP. So I see that you're in San Diego. And so I'm an agent. I have over 20 years experience, but I've taken the last 7 years off.
Okay.
So I'm just coming back to work after taking that time off, being a full-time mom. So I see this as like an investor. So you're a realtor that works with investors, or you're the investor as well? is my question for you.
Yeah. I used to be an investor full time. I flipped over 350 homes.
Okay.
Now I work mainly as a realtor. I have a team, and a lot of my clients are investors like this one.
Okay. And so this group is just a group of realtors and investors working together
That's
and
right.
Mhm.
teaching and sort of training. So I would love to work with investors. I'm sort of setting up my business, like lines of business. And I sort of wanted to share something with you. I don't know if with the group or in a breakout room, and get your thoughts on it. Because I research and then I sort of like start to systematically set up processes and things. It's a new tool, and I wanted to get feedback for what your thoughts were for the usage of a flipper, I guess, or an investor or developer, and how they would think of the tool, like to work in a collaborative way with agents. Like I think it's a very great tool, but I don't know because I've never really worked in this realm or world before. So I'd
Okay.
like your feedback on that. And
So
then
Denise, here's what you do, just so we can also do our next thing that we have in mind and not waste everybody's time researching the tool. How about you email me? I'm putting my email in the chat. Email me what you have in mind, and then
Okay.
I'll take a look at it with Eric. How's that?
Okay.
On the
I mean,
wholesale, oh, go ahead.
sorry,
No, you're
I
good.
could show everyone. I mean, it's great for realtors and investors.
We can do it.
Denise, I don't want to cut you off, but it's probably not the best thing to do until I look at it.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, let us first check it out, and if we believe
Okay.
it's something of value, I think that's great. We'll share it.
Okay.
But I have
And-
no idea, to begin with, what it is, so I'd rather not get into it until we research it, and then we can always talk about it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks for understanding. And
Yeah,
the,
yeah, no
the
problem.
two people that are on that are with my name, I messed up when I gave you the link to the Zoom. You can change your name by clicking on the three dots in the top right corner and change your name to who you actually are. Because it is kind of weird to see me here.
One last thing before we finish the wholesale and do the breakout rooms. I had the exact same thing that we did with an investor in November. There was a property sitting. It was a rental by American Homes for Rent. It was sitting on the market at 230, sat on the market for 6 months. Or no, actually sat on the market for a year. We offered 160 cash, got it, locked it up, closed in a week, went in, didn't touch the property. Only thing that they did was basement. We did some just waterproofing, but it was like, I think it was like $3 or $4 grand. It was pretty cheap. They had actually done everything incorrectly, had it listed as foundation problems. We had a structural engineer come out. There was an underwater creek in the area, so we added a second sump pump, and we just closed on it a couple of weeks ago for like 238. So in and out, no time at all. Like literally for this guy, I told him like the carpets could use cleaned, and he was like, I'm good. So we just listed it. I think we had like 55 showings. I think in total we had about 14 offers on the property. So it's a great, like when this market's hot like this, it's like one of the best strategies you can do.
Yeah, because a lot could happen, right? If he were to renovate it in a month, the market could be very different. And then
Yeah.
you're definitely eliminating a lot of risk, I would say.
Yeah. And the buyers ended up paying pretty much what the ARV would have been anyways, even if we
Someone wrote, which again, it's with my name, Randy Test Zimnoch, but someone wrote in the chat, I just had a client do that strategy and close the other day. Is that person still on?
That's probably Katie watching it in the other room with mine.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know.
Anthony.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Is Anthony on? Oh yeah, Anthony, go ahead. Share.
Oh, I missed the beginning. I logged on a little late. In terms of sharing, in terms of what I have going on, I have just a normal traditional buyer that I'm working with to sell a home. This was someone that helps facilitate something here at our house, and I was telling her what I do, and she's like, "Hey, I have my sister's looking to buy a home. Maybe you can help her out." And so we're going out to look on Sunday, have about 4 or 5 homes for her to look at. And then also on the last call, I looked up Felicia, who's one of the mortgage brokers here. And she is, I don't know, she's like totally awesome. I plan on using her for like everything. I got all the information over to her like on a Thursday, and she had proof of funds ready to go in less than 24 hours. So just really awesome, and plan on working with her for many, many more deals to come.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Good share, Anthony. Awesome. So maybe you guys can even share in the breakout rooms because we have 8 minutes left. So I want to make sure we do that now. So we're going to break you guys out into 2 rooms. And the idea there is to share, maybe a takeaway from what you heard, maybe, whatever you're working on, maybe a resource like what Denise is mentioning that you think might be beneficial to our community, whatever it is.
Well, no,
Maybe you're stuck somewhere, whatever it is, that's what the breakout rooms are for, but you make sure that you share the floor, right? Don't hog the floor. Everybody will get at least a minute and a half or so with the time we have left. And I'm going to put you in breakout rooms now. You're going to see a pop-up, accept it, go into the breakout rooms, and we'll meet up to finish it up in 7 minutes. All right. See you guys soon.
Yeah.
All right, we're Kevin, that sound familiar to you, buddy? Oh, you're muted, sorry.
Yes, it did. I actually have to hop off right now. I clicked the button to leave the breakout room before I could enter my contact information. But so whoever was
Oh,
asking.
put it in here.
Yeah.
Put it in the chat here. Cool. All right, awesome. So we got a whole minute left. Any final shares, any final takeaways maybe from the breakout room?
I have a real quick share. I had a listing that signed in December. My client had to moved out the whole month of December. The house was a real mess. The whole month of January, I helped him remodel the home, and then put on the market the first week of February. Put on the market for $890. It sold for $930 cash. Had a 2-week close, and it was the smoothest sale we've ever had, or I've ever had, because we disclosed everything up front. And so it was a real winner for my client. He was really happy with the outcome.
So who, Alex, who paid for the renovation? Did they pay for it?
He did. He spent about $36,000, and it was a complete night and day. It didn't take a whole lot to make this property, shine.
Got it. Did you refer the contractor, or he found it?
I basically acted like a general contractor. I mean, it was a very minor thing. I helped him with demolish the kitchen and the upstairs bathroom. I helped him install the vinyl plank flooring in the kitchen and the entry and the bathroom upstairs. And then I referred him to a painter who scraped the ceilings, painted the whole house. My stager designed the kitchen, and the cabinet contractor installed the cabinets. We installed the appliances. The plumber installed a vanity upstairs, a toilet, and then the dishwasher downstairs in the kitchen. And I helped him with, he had a wall in the garage that we demolished. And so I helped him with a lot of this stuff.
Did you get paid for also?
Yes, I got paid outside of escrow for the work that I did. It was like $4,500 for my time that I helped him, with the remodeling. And then I got my commission on the sale.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something I would recommend if you're new to do that. That's
right.
That could definitely blow up in your face, because it's hard to find good contractors. But I know your experience, and you have contacts. So it's amazing, right? Just bring in another source of revenue and net your client more money. That's like,
right.
It's a win-win for everybody. It's just, if you have an opportunity like that, my recommendation, if you're newer as an agent working with that type of a seller, is maybe give a few referrals of contractors, let them interview them, let them make that decision, so you can create that separation.
Yeah.
because it can come back to haunt you potentially if that contractor messes up. So just word of caution. But in this case, I love that case study, dude. That's amazing. So, but he's not new. Alex is not new. So.
Yeah, the buyer was a neighbor 2 houses down, so he knew exactly that I was involved in doing some of the work too. So there was no there's no denying that I was involved, that my fingerprints were on it. So it all worked out. It was good. And Randy, the same thing. It was like I had a higher offer at 935. It was a finance deal. It was 40% down payment, and my client felt more comfortable with the cash, only a 5-day inspection contingency,
Yeah.
and a 14-day escrow, where the others, they wanted 30 days, 17-day inspection period. So sometimes your clients will take the better deal,
Yeah.
what they perceive the better deal, better terms, not necessarily the highest price.
Yeah, so important. Were you able to represent the buyer too, or no? Was that another agent?
No, when I spoke to him, he felt uncomfortable having me represent, both the buyer and the seller, and I respected that, no problem.
Got it. Awesome. Any other shares before we close it down till next week? All right, good stuff. Cool. All right, well, we'll see you. We'll definitely do it still next week. And I think in April, we'll probably change it to every 2 weeks. So we'll let you know. We'll email everybody. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more of you. And make sure you take action on things and let us know what's working, what's not working. And if you have any questions, put them in a Facebook group. We would love to help you and engage with you. That's a good place to put your questions so everybody else can learn from the answers, right? Collectively. Thanks a lot, everybody, and see you next week.
See you guys.
Thank you.